Marymount University has been in a lot of headlines recently. I'm not sure you're used to all the New York Times and all that publicity. They do say that all publicity is good publicity, but I know from having talked with you beforehand that you feel like there's also been a lot of misinformation out there. The narrative has maybe been simplistic, that Marymount University effectively just voted to eliminate the liberal arts has been the headlines. So I'd love to hear the story from your perspective.
Yes, thank you for this question. Some of the information that has been published really is nothing further from the truth. Marymount University is a university that from its inception has been focused on career preparation, but underpinned by the liberal arts. And in 1950, the sisters that started Marymount University, the Religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary, they had this innovative idea to prepare women for work. That was innovative in 1950, and look now, right? We are so much of an important part of the workforce, but we've continued that mission, except that we are co-ed since the 70s, and we continue to offer our students a liberal arts core, but very focused in career preparation, and our top programs are nursing, for example, which is consistently ranked #1 among all the privates in Virginia, cybersecurity. We, of course, offer business, psychology. We have a new programs in engineering, mechanical, and biomedical, computer science. So again, we are not a vocational, like what they call VOTech, which is essentially technical preparation without the liberal arts. We're also not a liberal arts college, but we actually blend both quite well. And our students pick to come to Marymount for that reason. So this was completely faculty-led that look at programs that had been under-enrolled for the last 10 years. And some of these programs had no students, maybe 5 students. And not only, we didn't think that this, not only that, there's certain costs associated with it, and of course we have to be mindful about that, but the main reason was the student experience. When you have such a small cohort of students, you cannot engage students in meaningful debate or do a reverse flipped classroom type of teaching or case studies. So none of the new pedagogical techniques. So we looked at the student experience, and then we said, well, I don't think these programs are serving students well because students are not selecting them, essentially. So yes, some of them may be considered liberal in the liberal arts, but we're still going to teach those courses. So even though we're closing the philosophy major or the math major, those courses are still being taught as part of the core curriculum, and they support, for example, a program in ethics, or business ethics, or engineering. Misrepresentation that we were killing or the liberal arts or ending the liberal arts, or that Marymount would end up being a vocational school, there's nothing further from the truth. For some reason, all the universities tend to follow what we call the Harvard model, and I think it's important that we are differentiated, and clearly students that come to Marymount, they vote with their feet and they pick the programs that they're here to study, cybersecurity or forensic and legal psychology. We have many programs that are thriving, and they have to, again, many of them reflect the needs of the community, but also the needs of the nation. Well, I want to share with you that during the pandemic, here we are at Marymount, we decided to use this extraordinary time that we were facing to do a little bit of self-reflection. And we reflected on our academic structure, which, by the way, was also Harvard model of schools and departments. And it was really interesting because we had some departments that had 1 chair and 1 other faculty member. And we reflected, I remember Provost and I thinking, well, this hierarchy here, it feels like it weighs us down. It's not the type of architecture that enables the interdisciplinarity or to build where programs can build on strengths that really come from different areas of expertise. And we also know that the big challenges that humanity is facing typically are not just siloed within one area of expertise. So we decided to follow this idea of having an interdisciplinary approach. And the provost, with a team of faculty members, they restructured from 26 departments and 3 schools, they restructured into 4 colleges and 10 interdisciplinary schools with no departments. And yeah, this is not the Harvard model, but we felt that it worked well. And we didn't do this in a vacuum. We actually consulted with a number of executives that spanned from healthcare, Cigna, KPMG Consulting, Circle as an engineering firm. And interesting, when we asked them, what are you looking for in your graduates or that you're recruiting or in our graduates? And they spoke about interdisciplinarity. They said, we want engineers that can communicate. We want clinicians that can understand business.
When Marymount started its graduate certificate program in cybersecurity back in 2008, I believe, right? There were just a handful of such programs around the country. Now today, that program is expanded. It's undergraduate, it's graduate, it's doctoral, and it enrolls more than 450 students today. And I think that many of the college leaders who are with us today, but also listening to the podcast, they probably think, well, how am I ever going to compete on kind of cutting edge tech programs from where I sit, right? That's going to be, the big universities are going to be able to do that. We can't really do that. And even here in Virginia, you have the likes of Virginia Tech, right in your backyard. So what are some of the major takeaways from your playbook that helped you grow the cybersecurity program here into what it is today that maybe other universities could learn from to say, hey, we could do something like that too?
3 things. One, I think, is situational awareness. The second one is relationships. And the third one, as Irma referenced, is really innovation and agility. So it is not just a matter of talking to a business and saying, what talent are you looking for? It's a matter of envisioning the talent that will be required in the future.
Things are changing so quickly right now. Even in the field of cybersecurity, but now we obviously have, AI and technology in all different fields, but not only technology, healthcare, finance, everything's being impacted by what's happening in technology and elsewhere in the world. How can a place like Marymount keep up with that?
Again, it's a matter of being aware of the environment we're in. I think we're lucky here in the DC area, where there is such a mass of people, whether it's government contractors, whether it's large companies like Capital One. And again, the nice thing about this era is that technology also helps us communicate, right? And so if you read all the feeds that come in every week, you begin to understand where the pain points are of the industry, where they're going.
We heard earlier about the plans here at Marymount for the liberal arts and more broadly about their future more broadly about their future in American higher ed. But you've told me that the liberal arts could be taught in different ways, especially at smaller universities. Again, we don't always have to follow that Harvard model. What do you mean by that? How can they?
Many universities are under stressed budgets, especially in the last 3 years, due to declining enrollment. Those universities cannot afford to continue to offer majors with consistently low enrollment. So this is just a general for any major, not necessarily liberal arts. Secondly, I personally believe that not all universities should do everything. Universities with substantial endowment, large state universities, universities that do not depend only on tuition revenue. Those ones are well positioned to support small business. That's in general. Small and medium-sized universities that depend mainly on tuition revenue should do two things. The differentiation that Michael and Irma touched on before, they must focus on what differentiates them from competitors, one, and two, they must focus on areas of growth. Having said this, now go to the liberal arts. Since the recession of 2008, less and less students have become interested in obtaining degrees in humanities and liberal arts in general. For example, at the national level, according to IPED, the number of degrees awarded in 2022 compared to the number of degrees awarded in 2012, in 10 years period, the decline was almost 35%. And then here in Virginia, according to Chev, the number of, in the same period of time, number of English degrees declined by 39%. History degrees, 35%. Philosophy and religious studies, 35%. So there is no indication that that trend will end, right? So what do we do now? There are two inputs here. Input number one is what employers want and what we as educators think what students should do. What employers want, I think they would like a mix of skills. Some of it liberal arts, some of it even within the same discipline, they want you to know multiple disciplines, non-liberal. That's what employers want. But what we want is we believe that liberal arts is and will continue to be a foundational component, important component of education. This is where students will learn critical thinking, problem solving, empathy, open-mindedness, lifelong learning, all the good things that we would like our students to learn. So at Marymount, we decided to do the following. Irma already mentioned what we did in 2020 in the restructuring to create interdisciplinary schools. So we eliminated the boundary. This year, we wanted to right-size the program and to reposition, take another look at how we offer liberal arts. So historically, we offered liberal arts in two ways. The core, very strong core, and also some majors for disciplines taught in the core. Our students really appreciated the core, but for some reason, they did not select to major in these areas. So, well, we will continue to offer the strong core, and this is what I think every university should do. In addition, we would like to highlight better and further integration of liberal arts in other disciplines. For example, is AI. Diane started a program, an undergraduate in AI. So philosophy faculty can teach within that program the ethics of AI. We can team up faculty from philosophy, from computer science, from psychology, to work together in cognitive science. And the examples are limitless. So to summarize this, I think I think I said if I were the Minister of Education of the world, I would divide, if such a position exists, I would divide the universities into at least two types. One type, they can afford to offer these measures, the small measures. And the rest, for liberal arts, should make it an integral part of the core and weave it into the existing discipline.
Because there is so much discussion right now around generative AI and what it means for the future of work. Will AI eat jobs, which are popular headlines? Maybe. We don't quite know that yet. But it's clear it's going to change work. And so what is the best way to train people for what's next in technology? Because when I talk to many college leaders, they see it as another STEM major. They see, okay, we're going to start an AI program, just like we started cybersecurity, just like we started computer science, and it'll just be another STEM major. Is that the right way to think about it, given how much technology is changing?
The short answer is no. And the longer answer is, I want to add something to the conversation around what colleges and universities teach. Yes, there's skills, and I think skills are a big part of the conversation. More important than skills is the ability to learn. So what employers are looking for are employees and people who can contribute to the business, who can adapt to the ever-changing world. As things move more quickly, they can keep up with that. If you wait for the course to come around to learn the thing, you're already behind. And so the fact of the matter is, I've been thinking a lot lately about human-computer collaboration.
So Diane, you mentioned you mentioned about this birth of AI here at Marymount, and again, given your size, you're starting this bachelor's degree. You can't just try out new programs in hope they work, right? You kind of need to know that they're going to work. So how do you see around the bend to determine where to kind of place your bets? And so how do you connect with the local community? How do you connect with K through 12? How do you connect with employers and government when planning a program like cybersecurity or AI? Could you talk a little bit about who's in the room? Who are you talking to determine that?
A couple of things are important. As I said, situational awareness. About 5 years ago, I think Irma introduced us to MITRE, who was running a program that was called Gen AI. The whole idea that they recognized early on that AI, as was stated before, should be part of everybody's education. So we've been working with a consortium of 5 or 6 larger universities, University of Texas, University of Florida, on this project for about 5 years. So that's given us a lot of situational awareness about what AI is. Now, we decided about a year ago that AI needed a body of knowledge that was necessary for our students to be able to develop AI, whether it's understanding how the data comes together, machine learning, or so on. And we've been teaching this as part of a data science program for maybe 2 or 3 years. But it became obvious last summer and the summer before, we ran summer camps. They were called Cyber AI camps. And it really was interesting to see the enthusiasm of the younger high school students into the concept of AI. And that's where we start. And this is why we're starting with a bachelor's degree in AI rather than a master's degree. Right?
Because you want to start that pipeline early.
That's right, and start them to becoming the developers. I totally agree that everybody needs to understand the implications of AI, but we've been doing research for a couple of years as faculty. We've been part of the Gen AI program for about 5 years, and we've been running these cyber AI summer camps for high school students. So we're really enthusiastic about this program. And going back to my comment before on agility, we were able to put this program through the university's curriculum process and get it live in 9 months, okay? Which is, everybody knows, is a good time frame.
Higher ed has lost 1.3 million students in enrollment during the pandemic, basically since 2019 to today, because many of them really don't find a lot of relevance in what they're studying. They don't have a real sense of purpose for why they're in college. So could you talk a little bit about your own undergraduate experience here at Marymount and kind of what has given you that sense of purpose to remain in school? And what do you think higher ed needs to improve overall?
Yeah, so my experience at Marymount has been extraordinary, but I'm going to talk more about the general aspect that to help all universities. Well, higher education institutions need to improve on several aspects. And to better serve their students. And one of the areas I want to touch is they need to provide a more relevant and practical education. which is going to align to like the current job market demand. And this could be achieved by collaborations with industries, businesses, which is going to help students. It's going to help students have the necessary tools for like their future careers. Another part we have to improve, like this in general, not Marymount, is providing a better student support services. A lot of students like myself, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience. College life is pretty hard. You have a lot of pressure, you have a lot of stress, and if you really have a good support service, it's just going to help the student have a better academic success.
So so overall relevance, having that academic support that students need and affordable and make it more accessible for students. You think that a combination of those things would encourage more students potentially not only to go to college but to remain in college?
Yeah, exactly. I feel if they could touch all those points, it's going to be good. And to touch a little bit about my experience and my family experience. My mom, she studies psychology in Mexico, and in Mexico is different. Like college is different. Whenever you go to Mexico, you start studying what you want the first year. It's not like here you're studying basics. And like in high school, I already studied those basics. I came to the university, I studied those basics, but it was not what I was passionate about. And now in my third year, I'm becoming to study more about economics, and that's what I'm passionate about. I'm feeling great.
But you have to get, what you're saying is many students just don't get to that third year or that second year to connect with what they're passionate about.
Yeah, a lot of students just come freshman year, they don't like what they're getting taught, and then they just leave.
They're gone, yeah.